Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. Today we have the match preview for Tottenham Hotspur versus Everton, and joining me to discuss this match with his wonderful charisma and Everton energy, it is Chad from the United States of America.
Wow, what an introduction. I need you to follow me into like every work call I go into or every work meeting.
Happily,
Brian,
happily.
great to be with you. I don't think we've done a stream yet where it's just the two of us.
Yeah, normally the time zone means you're with Chris,
Yeah.
like G, but today I'm glad to have your company. Although the fixture we're going to be talking about is
No, don't do it. Don't do
yeah,
it.
it's an unpleasant fixture for us to look at today, but we're here to bring a little bit of humour to the occasion. I think we also may have Colton over in the United States as well, joining us briefly for his input, and possibly Chris Leitch, although he has told me he's in a hotel and it's very dark, so I don't really fancy him coming on in bed in the pitch black with the curtains drawn and his missus next to him telling him to get off the stream. So we'll carry on for now, and if we have any special guests to report, we'll bring them in. Chad, I know you've been very busy with work.
Yes.
Have you seen... The answer is yes. Have seen Sean Dyche's press conference? You've not seen it. You've done an Andy Mabs.
I have. No, I watched
You
it.
have.
I watched it this morning for us, morning my time. And you calling this fixture, what was the word?
Unpleasant. Was it? Did I say unpleasant?
I think it was unpleasant. I don't know if unpleasant would do it justice. Unpleasant is like when you're sitting on the train and someone walks in front of you and rips a gigantic fart, and you're like, that's unpleasant and gross. This is actually masochistic. This could be harmful. This fixture worries me in a significant way. So yeah, so watch Jice's press conference today. I wanted to see what his mood would be like going into it, because I think it's fair to say that we're in dire straits right now. He had managed to say that we have 14 first team players available currently.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. I think I counted him off.
Yeah.
So I have an idea where that is. He seems determined not to want to play anyone from the U21 setup.
Yeah, very bolsterous, I would say. You come across bolsterous in tone, yeah.
Yep. And didn't offer much of any, substantive information outside of that. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, I'm going to analyze it really with yourself. And, I'm glad you brought up some really key points there. The first, for me, was his whole demeanor was sort of unenthusiastic. And as fans, we want the energy to be resonating with us coming from the manager. I felt that from other managers, but I didn't get that from Sean Dyche. And I watched it and I thought, this isn't a presser. This is a depressor. This is really making me not want to watch the fixture. And also the first thing you talked about, the most pertinent point is 14 players fit. So my understanding and our understanding is that although Jared Branthwaite was apparently close for Brighton, which is what we got told, he's now not close for Spurs, despite it's been a week later. So something fishy going on that. Patterson, who joined in with the full training last week and was pictured in the training videos, should have had nearly 2 full weeks training. He's nowhere near, apparently. Sorry, what? I don't really care at this point if he hasn't had a full preseason. We have to take a calculated risk for these upcoming games. And the other one was Tarkowski's got a knock. And he's never been injured. I think there was several seasons on a row where he played 38 games in a row. Are there any others I've missed there that are now out? You said you've gone through them, and Young is suspended.
Yeah,
which is a blessing in disguise, really. But
yes, I think that was the gods giving us at least something. Trimidi, we can go through a list. So Trimidi's going to be out for some time with his foot surgery. The wing options are always light, so we're not missing anyone there. Garner is still out. I think he's still going to be a couple weeks away. Delhi, we don't have any resolution on his status yet. It sounds like he's fit, but Dyche wants to get him some
He's got to be registered by the end of a certain period, though.
Okay.
Otherwise, he can't play anyway. So what's the end game with him?
Yeah. I'm guessing we're going to see something in the near future with that. He will. I don't think he wants to be anywhere else, and that's a whole nother topic that we could probably dive into. I can't imagine he wants to be anywhere else because he's essentially training for free on Merseyside right now. But as you mentioned, he's going to have to get registered, so we're going to see something come to pass with that. So Coleman, it sounds like he's close. He may be fit for either maybe Doncaster or who do we have next weekend?
I wouldn't play him against Doncaster. I'd play Roman Dixon for that game. But yes, absolutely, yeah.
Patterson, as you mentioned, Young, as you mentioned, and then now Tarkowski picking up a knock, Branthwaite being weeks off of it, which is I thought was fishy as well. That strikes me as
making it up like he did with Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah,
stringing you along and something's going on there.
And that's it. We'll see what they do. We can get into potential lineups, but it's thin. It's dire.
We will do the lineups in a moment because I'm waiting on Colton to appear in the lobby because I want to do that as a three-way because he's only got 5 to 10 minute segment with us. I'll hold you on the lineups then, but we've established now we're really short with injuries. And in terms of available players, we think we've got Mikalenko, James O'Brien, although he would rather be, he'll do anything not to play him. Keane and Holgate, Pickford. I'm assuming he's not counting João Virginia. McNeil, Harrison.
I don't think he was.
Tim and Gay, Decore, Calvert-Lewin, Beto, Jasper Lindstrom. It's a real concern. I'm coming back to that press conference because I think people were annoyed. I mean, I did a tweet before it blew up a little bit with 27,000 views because people are feeling that sort of negative energy and the concern already. And let me just put a light on. I think that's wrong for us to feel that at this early stage in the season. We should be optimistic. He said he's not keen on throwing new signings in. He also said there's no money to spend effectively. Do you think there's a whiff of BS involved there to just play his cards close to his chest? Because the way it feels now is we'll probably get to deadline day, sign no one, be all sitting scrolling on Twitter waiting for signing. Mopé will go on a free loan to some French team. Holgate will go on a free loan somewhere else just to get rid of them, and we'll get nothing. That's how it feels. But do you think there's an element of just keeping his cards close to his chest? You saw how he reacted with the Kieran Trippier link, which looks sus. He kind of coughed, then covered his, coughed with the anxiety, gulped, and then laughed it off. We know he's a good friend of his. We know Jordan Pickford's a good friend of Trippier. Sorry, double question there.
Yeah.
So the first one was, is he playing his cards close to his chest when it comes to the finances? Or is there no chance in a cat's?
Yeah, I don't. If he is playing the cards close to the chest, he has maybe 2 cards. I don't think he has a full hand of cards just because of how much he and Kevin Thelwell are handcuffed here. We know they have an extra loan slot that they can still take in a player. It looks like that could potentially be Trippier, as you mentioned.
From the Prem, yeah.
My question is, and I was just stewing angry after the last match because. And I don't want to revisit it. I wasn't able to have a post match, but
you're gonna do that anyway.
I'm gonna do it. I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it. We started Ashley Young and Michael Keane, and then brought in Mason Holgate off the bench. Those are 3 players I don't ever want to see in an Everton shirt ever again. And I'm thinking about it, and I almost understand why he had to do it, although he is very stubborn and it did not play O'Brien much in the same way that he didn't play Branthwaite to start the season last year. So my thinking is, how stubborn do you have to be that you actually believe it's more beneficial for the club to play Ashley Young over Roman Dixon? Ashley Young is 39 years old. Roman Dixon is 19. You can't tell me, I won't believe it right now that Ashley Young is a better player than Roman Dixon. I won't hear it. It's not possible that a 39-year-old who struggles getting up and down the pitch, he can be as wise as possible, as savvy as possible. He's not able to hang for 90 minutes on a soccer pitch like the way a uber athletic Roman Dixon would be able to. And we also know that Ashley Young has a mistake in him. So what benefit do you get from playing Ashley Young over Roman Dixon? I don't want to hear. And there was those on Twitter this week that said, "Oh, you'll ruin a kid if you play him too early." I don't believe that. How are you going to ruin a kid when you're playing at home against a beatable opponent and you have no other options? If Ashley Young would be better in smaller bursts anyway, I would rather see Roman Dixon come on for 70 minutes and then Ashley Young relieve him if in a game that we're trying to close out and win. The thinking here doesn't make any sense. And you can echo it with O'Brien and Keane. You cannot convince me that O'Brien's ceiling, or that the ceiling performance that Michael Keane is possible, is any higher than Jake O'Brien's. We again know what Michael Keane is capable of, and we know that he has a mistake in him, at least one, in every match. So you are not getting anything more out of Michael Keane than you are getting out of O'Brien. But these guys are younger. They will provide a look into the future, and Sean Dyche will be able to see what their mettle is and what they're capable of on a Premier League pitch against Premier League opponents. So I almost feel like Sean Dyche is going to have to be completely handcuffed before we start to see some of these younger players. So if there are cards he's playing close to the vest, if it is Trippier, they need to get it worked out, and then they need to figure it out immediately. We're in a situation where we sold Ben Godfrey for a fair amount of quid, correct? Like 15 million.
It wasn't quite that, but yeah.
Amadou Onana for 50 million. And I recognize there was a sell on there, and we're now paying fees on Beto and Trimity that we weren't last year. But we are in a position where we have had more outgoings than we have had incomings in terms of money. The only money we've really spent, and the only money we've spent, is with Endai. Harrison came on a free loan. Jesper Lindstrom is like a $2 million loan fee, I think, and then there's a buy-on clause for next season. Where's the money, Ryan? Where is the money?
So many things there to unpick. The first thing you just left on was, where is the money? Well, why are Fulham and Nottingham Forest able to spend stupid money? Forest in particular just got done for FFP and are throwing money around left, right, and centre. That is really getting on my wick. Sorry about the table wobbling. I literally right now I've just washed a few towels, and one of the cat decided to plonk themselves there, and the other cat is under the table on one of the other seats, antagonizing him. So that's why it's wobbling around. I do apologize. They want to listen in. I did a show with Chris a couple of weeks ago before the Brighton game, not the preview, and I assessed who do I want to play for Everton? Again, who shouldn't be involved? Or was it? It was a show. It was who should never play for Everton again and who shouldn't, and all this sort of stuff. And I completely agreed with you. Holgate, Keane, and Young, because they were the three. That's before Brighton. You know what's happening. It's like if you could bet on something to go wrong, you would bet on these three to do something. It's the most predictable. It shouldn't be, but it just is. And you're right. But we didn't have the option. You can argue for anyone else at right back apart from this young boy. Now, I did watch the under-21, so I'm just linking the different topics in. Did watch the under-21s the other night, although Beto, Lindstrom and Virginia played for Everton against Tranmere Rovers. And Roman Dixon is, how do I put this in a way that's not going to upset anyone? He is, I'll just analyze his game for you from what I saw. I don't know did you manage to see this?
I'm not able to see it for some reason. I often hope that they post a stream, but I don't get those.
Okay. We've got two. So in general, we've got two very good young lads in the middle, Metcalf and Harrison Armstrong. These boys are good, these central midfielders. These aren't like Lewis Washington and all those Warrington. They're a different level from what I can see, particularly Warrington. Although the assist for the goal Beto scored by, what's his face, Metcalf, he's kind of looking away and he plays it behind. It's brilliant. Dixon has pace, energy, tenacity. Often gives the ball away, but wants to recover well. Almost reminds me a little bit like Tariq Lamptey at Brighton, in that he's small. He wants to just dominate that flank. Runs and runs, almost like a Duracell battery. He's energy and energy and energy. 1v1, will need improvement. I don't know whether you can stick him in against Son. I think we need to be realistic. But I completely get your point, Chad, that we know what Mason Holgate does. You stick him in the team away at Spurs, we get battered 5-0. You put Keane and Holgate in the back line, we're going to get battered 5-0, 4-0, 6-0. It could be anything. It could be cricket score. So I agree with you. It's like, why would we do something we know is definitely not going to work instead of do something that may work, may just work in a senior club environment? He might step up. He might be. You know how you have some footballers who are great around better players.
Mm-hmm.
He might just be one that comes in and is not out of its depth because he's surrounded by Premier League players. You know, he might not stink the place out, and I think it's so difficult. So some really good points there. And I share your anger with the Brighton match because, in all honesty, we weren't bad against Brighton at all. We just, a final end product again lacks at the top end of the pitch, and then we switch off for individual errors. And I don't know how you can legislate for it. There's no sign of Colton at the moment, which is unfortunate. I'm just seeing if I've got anything else on the cards. Maybe we should just touch on the Kieran Trippier one because we're talking about the press conference. 33-year-old right back, played for Atletico Madrid. He has also played for Burnley and Tottenham Hotspur. He is very much experienced at this level. The situation with him is he's on £120,000 a week. He's asked to leave Newcastle. He's been demoted of the captaincy. He has listed his property for sale in the northeast. He lives in Bury. I don't know how familiar you are with England as a whole, but Liverpool and Manchester quite close, and Bury is just at the top to the east, northeast of Manchester. So 40 minutes drive from Liverpool. So it would make sense for him, whereas Newcastle is 2 hours, 2 hours plus even. So, and he wants to play first team football. The only the negatives are, of course, you know, he is coming up to 34 in September. He is on big wages. He made a lot of mistakes last season. He was basically playing for Everton in that 3-0 win at Goodison Park that Newcastle suffered. You know, he was like a kamikaze sort of defender all over the place. But and also he brings the average age. He does slightly bring the average age of Everton's right backs down, 39 and 35. I think he's a different level to Ashley Young and Coleman. Coleman had a period between, I'd say, 2010, 11 and 2016, where he was in the top 5 right backs in Europe, in my opinion. And since then, let's be honest, guys, he's been pretty average in terms of right backs. For 5-6 years, he's been average at best. He can't stay fit. Solid Premier League player, don't get me wrong, but not that kind of top elite right back when Bayern Munich were trying to sign him. So, but Kieran Trippier has been at that level consistently over 10 years. And he's going to improve us. He takes set pieces, Chad. He takes corners. He can cross a ball. Yes, he sucks when he plays left back, particularly for England. But this guy would walk in our team and probably be our best player.
Well, if not our best player, he's certainly our best right back option. If he were to come on, he's still miles ahead of Ashley Young, probably over Patterson as well. Coleman, I hate that you're absolutely right about everything that you said about Seamus.
I'm sorry.
It hurts. It hurts since he's the heart of the squad, but it's true. And you know, it's the realities of Mother Nature or Father Time, and every player, we see it with every player. You know, I think the value that Seamus brings to the squad and the club as a whole, it's more around not necessarily what he's capable of doing on the pitch anymore. It's everything else that he means in the community and as a leader. Or at least from what I see.
Tits arse, to be honest with you, what he does in the community. I really don't care. All I care about is how good they are on the pitch. Because, you know what, actually, you know, I don't know if you watch anything like Sky Sports and the Overlap and Roy Keane and Ian Wright and all these famous players talking. Everton are a laughing stock. You're saying to Rafa, why did you join Everton? Like, we've got there's no respect on our name anymore. So I couldn't give two hoots about how good he is in the community. I want players who are good on the pitch. I don't want to go on a Saturday night and waste 3.5, 4 hours experience to watch a player just because they're good at taking a picture with a fan or signing an autograph. I'm sorry, I know I'm being mean and really harsh, but
it's not that. What I'm trying to say is that it just hurts to talk about him in that way because of what he means and has meant to the club. You are right. He probably, this will be his final season, or he should at least walk us into Bramley Moordock next year and then call it a career.
absolutely.
But we cannot count on him from a footballing perspective. He is capable of having moments still. I don't believe he's capable of playing 90 minutes. And to go into this season having sold Ben Godfrey and looking at your options of Seamus Coleman, Ashley Young, and Nathan Patterson, who the manager does not like, is it's poor planning. It's inadequate in my perspective. You cannot tell me that there's not another right back in Europe that we could have purchased that would have been an upgrade on those three that would still not been in our price range. I don't believe.
Who the hell signed Vitaly Mikalenko and Nathan Patterson? Can someone explain? Was that Brands or was that
Thelwell? I think it was Brands. I think it was before Thelwell. You don't like Mikalenko at all?
It's like a centre back who can play at left back. That's how I feel. Just because when we're used to watching really dynamic left backs in the Premier League who can just get forward and provide that width, and he's not that. And I think we're accepting it because we've been so poor for a number of seasons that being not poor makes you good, if that makes sense. Whereas I think if he'd have followed Leighton Baines, you'd be thinking, who is this joker? I mean, he followed Luca Dean. It makes me sad because I think modern football teams in the Premier League have fullbacks that provide width and the wingers can tuck in or they can underlap. And we just don't have that. I think we've got the worst combination of fullbacks in the league. And he really just doesn't like Nathan Patterson. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, certainly. And especially when you would see Ben Godfrey on the right and Mikalenko on the left, they're now not either of them were capable of getting forward. You can get by with a more stationary defensive centric fullback if the opposite fullback is able to enter into the attack.
Yeah, would you take Kieran Trippier?
100%. An hour ago. He should have. Why is this loan not done in advance of this game? We're going to go. I know we're going to do lineups, but we're going to go into a situation where Mason Holgate is going to start at right.
I don't think they want to give. They want to give him to us. The Newcastle fans are saying that he's very good defending 1v1.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry. He's not very good defending. He's not very good defending 1v1. They actually want rid of him, but Eddie Howe wants to keep him. I think we should just take a moment. We're getting carried away. We're having a nice chat, very enjoyable, and I'm assuming everyone's enjoying it. Who's watching 155 live? I'm sure we'll have a few hundred watching back. The match reaction we did for the Brighton game had over 600 people watching live concurrently for that match reaction, and I really, for a weirdly, it is because Everton lost and convincingly, and I really hope we don't have as many viewers because it'll mean Everton are winning games and there won't be anyone laughing at us. But I think it's good to just very quickly introduce ourselves. We Follow Everton. We're an Everton fan channel. Chad is one of our wonderful hosts here. And we have a great plethora of pundits and contributors on here. I'm hoping to get Colton on in the States. I can't promise. He said I'll be on shortly. I know Chris Leitch wants to jump on. He can, if you've got the link, you can just pop in for 2 minutes. But I'd just like to thank everyone in the comments. I'm just going to name some names. We've got Tazul, welcome to the show. Peter Duggan, of course. Mark Foster watching on Facebook. We also have Mr. Blue Skies and the Blues over on YouTube, as well as Roy Nixon. We got Jazz EFC, says Chad is the best. Of course, we have Eugene in there as well. And of course, the rest of you watching. And be sure to like and subscribe and get your comments in. Let's have a little look if we've missed anything that was relevant to what we've talked about before. I don't know if you can see anything at your end. Eugene's talking about Jake O'Brien. Dyche fit isn't going well. Could this be why we're getting injured? All these injuries? It's unusual, isn't it?
It's a pretty good question. I would love to know how we picked up some of these knocks. And Trimidi being injured the way he was.
Can John Textor play?
Can he afford the club? I think that's the better question. Does he actually have the money to buy the club?
Is he not wealthy in his own right? Is he?
Why is he not taking? Why is he talking about bringing on additional debt to fund the completion of the stadium? Why? I mean, at least when the freaking group were in position, it looked like they were going to be able to prop up the club financially for some time. So I'm a little concerned about where we are with John Textor. We'll see.
I don't know about this John Textor fella. I know he's got other sports clubs, but is he not wealthy in his own right, billionaire? Because there's some question marks over this now.
I haven't dove into him. Aussie Chris, maybe if you're able to join us, you have some knowledge on John Textor. I do know that when he purchased Lyon, they did take some time to complete. I don't think he had the cash to buy them outright. So I don't know what his money is held up in. I don't know where he's made his money, but he seems pretty bullish on acquiring Everton. And from my understanding, what I've read,
motivation?
Yeah, his motivation is, well, from hearing from his other partners at Crystal Palace is he really wants to explore the multi-club model with the other clubs that he owns. And because he's not the majority shareholder at Crystal Palace, he's not able to flex that muscle as much as he would like. So he would rather be in position to be in a controlling stake with a club. And Everton is the Premier League club and one of a giant of a large size.
Is he vanity?
That he's interested in. Possibly.
Because that's the problem. We've had a vanity owner in Farhad Rashiri. It almost feels very similar, Chad. He was at Arsenal. He wanted to get controlling stake of it with Usmanov. He couldn't do that. And so he sold his shares to buy Everton to control. And you can argue to the cows come home whether he's had his heart in the right place. I think he's had. He's pushed for the stadium. He's tried to spend money on players. He's just not put the right cooks in the kitchen. He's put his pot washer in charge of the ovens, and he's put his chef. Well, he didn't even hire a chef, but you can understand what I'm saying there. And I feel like with John Textor, I wonder whether there's an element of, well, I'm not getting my own way here, so I'm going to do the same, and it's going to be my vanity project. And I read before that Everton £75 million extra revenue per season just from the new stadium. That's before sponsorship. So, I find it hard to believe there aren't people literally queuing around the block. They've got to fund the stadium, but it's nearly finished. Mm-hmm. It's almost to the point where Farhad might even turn around and say, "I'm keeping it now because I've done the hard."
Don't do it. Oh, don't do it.
The hard bit.
Don't do that to us. I am aging rapidly, and I do not need a heart attack right now. Don't do it. Oh, brilliant. You know what? The funny thing is, you asked if it's a vanity project, and when you get to this class of wealth, isn't every sports team a vanity project to some extent? I don't think anyone buys.
They just get bored, and
they get bored. It's a toy. In the same way that you and I would join a fantasy league, they say, "Oh, we'll just join. We'll just buy the real thing." So yeah, they're not normal people. They're not like you and I, but they just live in a different world. So yeah, it probably is a vanity project, but you hope that they approach it the right way, that they're competitive, that they want to see the team do well. All we can do is keep our fingers crossed.
We have to hope. I'm just seeing where Colton is. Sorry about that. Yeah. Comments here. I just want to thank, we've got a VIP member, Richo65. This guy is brilliant. Thank you so much. And of course, I can't not say Aussie Chris is still VIP member, even though he's actually part of the channel. What does a VIP membership do? Fancy badges next to your name, you'll stand out in the comments, and you're effectively a patron of the show. And I'm hoping, I'd like over the course of the season to get a lot more people on that. You click join, and there's some different options on there depending on what you want to contribute. And just to update the quality of the stream and get Mabsy a microphone would be quite decent, because it still sounds like he's through a tunnel after 3 years. I'm going to move on. If Colton, if you're watching, I am sorry, we've got to move on. We need to talk about team news. I've delayed it as long as I can. So in terms of the lineup then, Chad, does that pick itself?
I think so, because there's only so many options. The question is,
would you like to give me what you think your team would be, and also what you think the manager will actually do, so we can compare the two?
Well, I'll start with what the manager will do, and I think he'll have 5 goalkeepers on the bench. I think that seems about right for Dyche. No, the way I would start would be Dominic Calvert-Lewin up top. McNeil and Lindstrom I
Really?
think out wide, I think I would start
Can I
McNeil.
can I interject very
Yeah,
quickly on that?
yes,
I
yes,
watched Lindstrom for the under-21s 2 days ago. He's not ready to start the Premier League. He didn't look like he was outclassing Tranmere Rovers League Two team and reserves. He did get an assist, but
yeah,
Beto made a bad sort of a difficult chance. You need to see it. It's a very, very difficult chance to score, and he normally blasts them over Beto or high and wide. I don't think he's ready. I want him to be,
yeah.
but especially to
Okay,
cover the right side, which is
yeah,
already
you're
vulnerable.
right.
Sorry, I know I'm
You're
influencing you, and I shouldn't have done that. I feel
no,
mean.
I mean, I'm
You're
easily
thinking with your
persuadable,
heart.
as you could sell me anything, Ryan. I think you're right. I think you know what, if we're gonna say that, if we're looking at the potential of Mason Holgate starting at right back, you want more defensive cover, and that's Jack Harrison out to the right. He is also, the inevitable only option left if something were to happen to Mason Holgate. So if he picks up a yellow in 5 minutes and then is playing like an idiot for the other
He will.
time, which we've seen, and Dyche says I have to get him off the pitch, then Harrison potentially would go back there, and they would have to move Lindstrom into the lineup at that point. Then, personally, I'm going with Ndai at the 10, and then Irabunum and Ghana Gay behind him in the midfield, and I'm sitting Decore to start. He's been dreadful at the back end of last season, and to start this season, he seems disinterested and completely, honestly, he seems a little washed up. So I'm not starting Abdoulaye Decore. And then with a back four of Mikolenko, Jake O'Brien, Michael Keane, and God help us, Mason Holgate on the right. And I don't know. I don't know how we're going to sit through this, but we're going to have to.
Is that your team?
No. I mean, my team, I'm playing Roman Dixon. If
Yeah, I want your team. Is that that's the manager's team for the informative for our pundits for our guests? And by the way, get your teams in. I want to know what people are thinking in the comments today. Leave your teams, and I want to see where the thoughts are.
So my team is everything that all of that I just said, with the exception of Roman Dixon in for Mason Holgate. I'm gonna go ahead and play him on the road against Tottenham, and I'm gonna see what he's made of. I mean, what are the options? I mean, that's what we're looking at. Baptism by fire. Come on.
Your change is Roman Dixon.
It is. Yeah.
And anyone else?
No.
So the only change, and Decore goes out for Njai.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think what Sean Dyche is going to do, I don't want to make everyone miserable, but he will keep with the same team that he played against Brighton, except for right back. We're enforced injuries. The reason is it'll be Calvert-Lewin up front. Beto was playing with the under-21s. He wants to get him sharp. 2 goals and assists for him against Tranmere kids. No, only joking. They were a senior team. They're just League Two. And the reason with Decore is he likes Decore in the away games because he can drop in and be disciplined defensively and still link the attack, and he makes intelligent runs. But the thing with Decore is just consistency. Some days you look at him and you think, you are incredible. You are a beast. You are scoring. You are everything is right. And then other days you look at him and you think, who's this clown that's just like being chucked in the middle? He's like giving the ball away, can't trap a bag of cement. And it's so difficult to see. So I think it will go with the same team because it's Sean Dyche, and that's just what he does. Tarkowski in unforced out, and then in comes Jake O'Brien for his debut, and then Mason Holgate and Michael Keane, the infamous. Hate them because I've seen them 150 times. Mason Holgate's made 150 appearances for Everton. He had 2 good seasons, maybe 1.5 good seasons under Carlo Ancelotti playing as a right back in a flat back 4. And Michael Keane has somehow played 213 times for Everton. What the actual hell? But that's the team, because that's what he's going to do. Jack Harrison on the right, McNeil on the left, Tim Irabunum, and Ghana Gay, Decore Calvert-Lewin, and Jake O'Brien for Tarkowski, if fit. Michael Keane, Holgate, Mikolenko. It is going to be pretty painful to watch. I do now. All of a sudden, they say it's like buses, 2 guests. So I'm gonna first just be Chris. I'm sorry, mate. You're gonna have to wait. Oh, he looks so disappointed. He looks so disappointed because I need 5 minutes with Colton. I want to get Colton's thoughts on the selection. Colton, welcome to the show.
How are you guys? Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, pleasure. Got Chad with me. He's also from the States. Colton, what's your team for the fixture against Spurs? Can you see anything changing in terms of that selection from what we've discussed?
Sadly, no. I don't want to see Mason Holgate at all. I mean, all I know is I'll be running to the sports books here in the States because he's a guaranteed yellow card over the weekend. I love my Mason Holgate yellow card wagers. You got to see O'Brien in there. I don't think you risk Tarkowski this early in the season, especially if he has something going on. It's not worth losing him for 5 games if you play him Saturday and it gets worse. I don't think there's any reason to play him. I don't think they're getting any points Saturday, just being honest. And I like being an optimistic Everton fan because I got a bunch of buddies here and I'm the only Everton fan. They're all top 4 club guys. And they always laugh at me being so optimistic about Everton, but they're definitely not getting anything this weekend, especially a Spurs team that dropped points against Leicester last week. I think you're going to have a Tottenham team looking to possibly the same result as the Brighton game, to be honest with you.
Just coming back onto that, what you said about the Spurs game, Chad, I don't know if you watched Tottenham against Leicester.
No, I missed it.
There was an element of this fixture where Tottenham were completely dominant for so long, chance after chance, not necessarily clear cut, but they were just outplaying Leicester and you thought, oh my God, Leicester is so bad. But then Colton, all of a sudden, Leicester, when they didn't sit back and actually said, right, well, I'm going to press you, we're going to make it horrible. Leicester looked like scoring. The Spurs were overcommitting players. They were leaving themselves all sorts of space in the middle of the park. The goal is switching off. Pedro Porro actually scored for Spurs. He doesn't know who he's marking. Can we allow Tottenham kind of to get desperate? Can we hold them out, let them get desperate, and then punish them on the counter, maybe like Leicester did, and kind of cause them a bit of pain? We're talking tactics now. We've discussed the teams. I think there's not a lot more we could discuss with only 14 players available.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that type of thing. I think they're going to sit back and look down on them. And again, we kind of talked about it. And again, I've seen it all on Twitter and everything, talking everything. And as far as Doucouré's play, because he looked kind of lost at Goodison against Brighton, where when Doucouré's away from Goodison, you see top-notch Doucouré. And I think it's because they sit back and they kind of play a counter-attacking type of play with Dyche that we've seen. So I think they have a good opportunity of possibly getting points. I just don't trust the back 4 at all as far as Saturday. I just don't. I don't like seeing Keane out there, and Holgate is absolutely terrifying to me. Trust me, I think they could sit back and counter them and have some opportunity because the way Spurs play, they like pushing forward, and they do leave some hole in the back, and that's kind of been their issue. They've let up a lot of goals, Spurs. That's kind of been their thing. And the problem is they put the ball in the back of the net, which Everton cannot seem to do.
Yeah, Chad, just on the back of what Colton said, Tottenham, if we sit back, they've got Son who'll beat Holgate 1v1. They've got Solanke. He will run rings around Keane with his movement in behind to feet around him. He'll make him look. Aussie Chris loves to talk about the cat and mouse, which was Jamie Vardy and Michael Keane in that match, Leicester 2-2 a couple of years ago. You can see that coming. You can see Pedro Porro bombing on that right and just pinning Mikolenko back. Jake O'Brien looking like a headless chicken on his debut, not knowing who he's picking up, not knowing whether he's coming into midfield. Tim Arabunum getting outclassed by seasoned pros in the midfield. And so this is the worry. If you sit back, you'd expect them to just pick us off. If we play with Richarlison and add insult to injury, he'll inevitably score. His movement's fantastic as well. It's really scary. But at the same time, if we play a high line, they've got Son with the pacing behind, Solanke with the pacing behind. We are in a dire straits, Chad. What approach do we do for this fixture?
Yeah, this is going to be like the famous rope-a-dope of George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, where Muhammad Ali just took shot after shot after shot for round after round after round, except for we will not be able to turn around and then put the attack onto them. We're going to have to pack it in, as Colton mentioned. And Colton, would you consider throwing Beto and Dyche up together and going long with Jordan Pickford and hoping that maybe Beto can run onto a second ball and we could somehow, nab a goal?
I would like to see more run of Beto. I don't think he has enough opportunities so far with DCL. I don't understand the whole DCL Beto thing. I don't understand what it is. I know Beto is going to give you the shift. He's going to put in the extra yards where DCL doesn't. I don't know what they're doing on top. The big thing going into this season that really, upset me as far as injuries, Curly Branthwaite being out sucks, is Yusuf Trimidi. I thought he was going to actually be a big player for us. So the fact that he's out and is going to have like a whole new preseason.
Colton, I'm going to interject you. I'm challenging you straight away. Yusuf Trimidi, right. He didn't score a goal for us last season. He's a kid. Yeah. He scored 2 goals against Sligo Rovers, who are probably the equivalent of Conference South, so 6th tier, okay? 5th, 6th tier in English football. What have you seen from Yusuf that makes you think he's the savior of Everton Football Club?
Oh, I don't know about savior, but I just the way he's confident on the ball, where like it seems like Beto kind of gets lost. I think, and the fact that I think he can finish outside the box, I think that also says something about Germany. Like
the composure, you mean? He's got a bit.
Anytime I watch a striker play like DCL, like I just know he's not scoring outside the box. But then I enjoy the Prem. I love watching all the other teams play, and I've seen all these strikers. I'm like, yeah, like what we just saw last weekend from Brighton with Welbeck. You're never going to see that ever. An Everton striker. Like you're not seeing DC ever do that. Has to be a header or something in around the box to get himself a penalty.
You don't even see.
I'm sorry,
you don't even see Welbeck do that.
Well, that was a nice goal he scored last week. When you're going to see Calvert-Lewin ever put one of those in?
Yeah, but Welbeck doesn't do anything. We made him look like Brazilian Ronaldo because we gave them the ball. Michael Keane then backs off and gives him acres of space, and he's like, "Fuck it! If you're going to give me that much room, I'm going to just side foot it in the goal." Pickford, listen, tactically against Brighton, I am going to say something very, very bold. I think we had the right game plan. It was how we executed it with that final ball, the timing of Doucouré's runs. On another day, we would go in halftime 1-2, 3-0. We would have because we had the chances. We were the better team. We make individual errors. You get punished at this level. Spurs will punish us. They won't let. I don't know what weapons we've got, Chad, to cause Tottenham problems. It's going to be a long ball to Calvert-Lewin, Doucouré racing up to try and catch it. It's going to be difficult. We need Tottenham basically to overcommit and leave holes and try and grab them, on the counter-attack. Or is there another way? Is there any other way?
It's the typical Dyche 1-0 scoring on a corner. Ball comes out to Keane and he somehow finds top corner. That's the only recipe here. It's funny you asked Colton, why so bullish on Trimidi, and Ryan. It's because
I want to seeing out what he thought about him.
I was you're stewing on it. It's because when you're in the desert dying of thirst, you can be convinced to drink the sand, and that's where we are right now. Yusuf Trimidi, if that is hope, if that is any kind of form of I don't know, optimism or forward looking, like we're just desperate for something. And if Yusuf Trimidi can flash in a preseason friendly, hey, that's something for us to grab onto. What we're going to see is Dyche be Dyche, his pragmatic self, and he's going to say to himself, let's just not get blown out here, because at the end of the day, goal differential is going to matter. And he took a lot of shit this past weekend when he subbed in Mason Holgate for, was it Jack Harrison? Because he was thinking with goal differential in mind. He wasn't thinking that maybe we can actually get a goal here. He was trying to pack it in and try to absorb as less damage, as little damage as possible.
I just want to touch on one thing with Colton, if that's okay. You made a fantastic point, Chad. Right back situation, right? we're talking about Holgate. I don't want to be like a worn out chicken here, or sorry, a bad analogy. There's the right one. I can't remember what it is. How can you even consider playing Mason Holgate? Not talking about his lack of quality in recent seasons. He was at Southampton and Sheffield. He went to Southampton, stunk the place out. I remember them moaning they lost 5-0. Then he couldn't. He didn't play well for Southampton, so they got rid of him. Southampton then get promoted. All of a sudden, they have a change of fortunes. He goes to Sheffield United, who then get relegated. I mean, that is parody at its finest. But how can you consider even playing someone who you know is leaving the football club in the next 8 days? How is his head going to be up there? Because he's going to get his arsehole torn out. Sorry, this is bad language for pre 9 o'clock in the UK. He is going to get absolutely mullered, and it's not going to do him any favors. And just to support you with the answer of this.
Hello, that was cut out.
Did we lose Ryan?
we did lose her. There
we go.
Sorry, I made it press the wrong button. just want to ask you, how can you consider playing the guy who's going to leave and then bringing Chris in?
Yeah, you can't play him. You can't. The problem is you have to. That's like so here in the States. There's a podcast that the guys do, the Everton fans in the USA, and where there's like a whole group chat of all Evertonians and just going back and forth. And I'm like complaining. Like, we signed Begovic this week, Asmir coming back to the club. I'm like, why are we doing like we need a right back? I'm sorry, sure, we do need a third keeper. I got Andy left. We need a right back. What are we doing? And I just don't understand. Everyone's like, oh, you don't think they're doing 2 things at once? I'm like, it's Everton. Do you think they're really doing 2 things at once? Are we really that confident that they're doing 2 things at once? I can't. That's why I said when I first jumped on. And again, appreciate you guys having me. I jumped on. I was like, yeah, I'm running to the sports book this week, and I'm cashing in my Mason Holgate yellow card. Guaranteed. I don't know why this guy's even in the squad, because the problem is we have 38-year-old Ashley Young and 37-year-old Seamus Coleman. The club did not do any good backing the fullbacks. I mean, you got Mikolenko on the other side, and then if Miko goes down, who do you got? You have Ashley Young again. You sold Godfrey off.
Crops up back at left back.
Like, what are we doing here? That's the problem. There was positions that they needed to address, and like fullback's still like one that's like, yeah, we're gonna keep trying out Seamus Coleman and hope for the best. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand why this was
you're spot on, and you're making me laugh.
I don't get it.
Although there's one criticism here, and I did not write this, and I cannot say who wrote this, but possibly someone who's either lived in the United States or lived in the United States has said, Follow Everton does not condone anyone supporting the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we cannot confirm who wrote that. Can we, Chad?
I take no responsibility for any posts on the comments right now, nor the Kevin Green jersey behind Colton.
Hey, go look at you, Chad. Huh?
Yeah. Colton, great meeting you. I'm going to jump because I have to get to something else.
I was going to ask you if you needed to go back.
Yeah, I'm going to tag in. I'm going to tag in Aussie Chris if possible. He's going to come in like the Ultimate Warrior, shaking the ropes. Maybe that's too of a reference for you, Ryan. He's going to come in hot. I have a feeling.
Chad, before I let you go, please, I was coming to this final comments actually before, and then I was just going to bring in Chris for 5 minutes before. I'd just like to know what your prediction is, and then you can.
3-0. I have 3-0 loss, unfortunately, and that's being kind.
Might drop.
Yeah. God, I don't want to. I usually pick Everton in my picks, but I can't do it. I can't do it today. And I think the real prediction is I think we will see some groundswell for fire Sean Dyche after this, whether it be warranted or not, but it'll happen. It
won't be warranted necessarily. It'll be quite knee jerk and reactionary. But when you lose 6-0 away at Spurs, what do you expect? Chad, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. We weren't far away from finishing, but I was conscious you'd need to leave. But my real pleasure. And if you'd like to just take yourself out, and we'll see. I would like you to do the Spurs match. We need you back for match reactions. We need you here.
I'm gonna do as many shows as I can. So you will all be seeing me a lot this season.
We love you.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon.
Yep.
Thanks, Chad. Hi, Colton. You've moved into centre stage for 30 seconds because I do have another wonderful Everton friend, and this guy here, he's the one and only Chris. He's based in, well, I don't know where he's bloody based now. He's from Australia. He's lived in Scotland. He's lived in a weird place near Morocco as well. This guy, he is a traveller, really, aren't you, Chris? You're in Belgium at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in Ypres at the moment, so in a little town that the Brits would know well.
Yeah, to do with World War One.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to get your thoughts as a summary for the Spurs game before I share the last few moments with Colton.
I think it's simply shut your eyes, batten down the hatches. Dyche isn't going to do what we want to do. He's going to pick his old reliables, burn out players that are fit that he trusts, and we hope we don't get flogged 6-0. And as long as we don't get 6-0, okay, what else do we do after that? Because I'm really worried we're in a trend of a downward spiral here. We know we've got time. Dyche said we're not bringing in new players. We don't have the money for it, I guess. But Kieran Trippier hinted something needs to change, and I'm really not feeling that coming right now.
Something needs to change, and we might just have to write off for one more week, which would be unfortunate. I want to enjoy it. I want to look forward to this Tottenham game. I'd normally be doing everything I possibly can on a Saturday to make sure I can go the game or watch the game, and I'm kind of just feeling, what's the point? But I wonder whether, when you write Everton off, whether they're going to come back and just do something nice and a little bit special on Saturday, and just maybe hold Tottenham to a 1-1 draw, and just make it difficult for them. I don't know how, but it will be a masterclass, Colton, if we can get something. But that would be the catalyst, you'd feel, for the remainder of the season. And if we saw a Mason Holgate redemption story, maybe a clean sheet in a back four, does he stay for the... No.
There's no chance they get a clean sheet Saturday. No chance.
Yeah, I think 1-1 is the best we could possibly hope for. I mean, we felt this ominous against Man City. Damari Gray scored a screamer right around the New Year's Day game about 2.5 years ago. It feels that back's against the wall, and Dyche is not giving us anything positive.
After one game.
I mean, I'm wearing dark clothes. I'm not even wearing Everton top. I'm just...
You're at Everton's funeral. Yes, I know. We know you're on holiday and you've just jumped in for a minute. Colton, do you think Everton's shit pre-season is kind of leaning itself into the Premier League? That negative feeling, couldn't beat Sligo, couldn't beat Coventry, not particularly convincing in the games. You know, does that play its part at all? Or?
I think it's just the same problem we've had. Again, preseason's preseason. I don't look too much into it. It's guys getting minutes, getting their legs up and running for the season to get going. The problem is they just can't. Like, again, if you watch that Brighton game, that's the frustrating part. Like, I got buddies that they'll blow up my phone. It's like, oh dang, 3-0, 4-0 against Brighton. I'm like, it's not this bad. Like the first 45, we were probably the better team. They just can't. It's the same thing that we've had, the same issue. They can put the ball in the back of the net. So it's the same problems, and that's the issue. So then you have Dye on the bench. You have Lindstrom on the bench. It's like you brought these guys in. Why are we not throwing them out there? Like I don't get it. These guys cannot put the ball in the back of the net. I just don't understand. Like Ben doesn't get a consistent run. He gets like thrown on for like 10 minutes every week. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, how many chances are we going to give Calvert-Lewin up front to not put the ball in the back of the net?
Calvert-Lewin who won't sign a new contract and his head's elsewhere. I mean, that's what
I'm kind of frustrated with, Ryan. Like, the problem is they played well, and it's like, okay, great, you played well, and you still got your ass kicked because you can't put the ball in the net. That's what the game is: putting the ball in the net, scoring goals, and they cannot put the ball in the net. That's part of the problem. Then you see, and Dye had one of the better seasons. When he first got to the club. So I just don't understand, why is he on the bench? A guy that's going to be strong with the ball, go forward, where the core is like tripping over. It's like a deer, like a newborn deer, and it's like stumbling upon it. Stuff like, Decore, what are we doing? Like, and trust me, I love the effort Decore puts in. Always running around. I mean, you can see the miles the guy puts on the pitch. That's I'm not taking shots, but there's things he does well, and there's things he doesn't do well. So, like, you want someone to progress the ball and bring it forward, you have the guy right on the bench. You just signed him. Why is he not on the field?
Yeah, because
like,
the defensive side of where he needs to be positionally, Decore is good at, and that's why he wants Decore. But Chris, Colton's right. Decore can be like a baby deer going forward, or he can look like, an absolute Ronaldinho, can't he? Seems to be no middle ground between him.
Yeah, now I think very correct. I've had my frustrations with him. It's kind of like shake a magic 8 ball, and sometimes magic happens. Most of the time, it has asked again later and turn the ball over. On a match like this, Njai is not going to have the physicality and robustness to break the lines that we need. The problem is they play a high line, and we don't have the players with the pace to outdo Mickey Van de Ven, and they're going to play him deep. So how do we make an impact? I don't think we really can. We'd have to rely on set plays, because I think last year that the goal that we did score away at Spurs was from Andre Gomez. It was a really well struck.
We
ball
were
from
unlucky
inside
in
the
that
box.
game last season. Danjuma played on the shoulder of the Tottenham right back. I got in and behind. He was just selfish because he had a point to prove. We should have drew that game 2-2. Arguably should have won it. Calvert-Lewin, Gomez changed the game for us. It was so my point I'm making, I don't know if I've interrupted you, but when we played Tottenham last year, and they're not going to change. It's the same manager, the same style, the same core group of players. When we sat off Spurs, they just picked us off. They scored, the movement, Richarlison, it'll be Solanke this time. When we then took it on ourselves and we're going to take the ball, we're going to get them behind you, we looked like scoring. We were brilliant. We still lost the game 2-1. And you're right. What weapons have we got to do that? Well, can Njai, does he have legs? Do we have anyone who can get them behind Tottenham, expose them when they overcommit, and cause the problems? Just before we wrap things up here, Spurs don't actually have any injuries, unfortunately. They've got Basuma Foster and Pedro Perro, but they'll all be back for this game.
Yeah, how about the Bentancur one? But I guess they've got
And
bench cover.
Bentancur, he's the only one who's not going to be available. Colton, any closing thoughts on your prediction, please?
I wish I was more confident going in this game. So of course I'll be getting up watching the lads here 10 a.m. Eastern time tip off for us. So I'll be watching and rooting them on, but I do not want to see the final score. I'm hoping for the best and a 1-1 draw, but I think this one has Brighton 3-0, 4-0 written all over this one.
4-0.
Yeah. It's a shame. I don't think there's been a preview like this where it's been so negative coming into the fixture. But I'm also going to go with what Martin John Cassidy. Hi, Martin John Cassidy. You've gone with a 5-0 Spurs win, and I'm very sorry. I think I agree. Mr. Blue Skies is going with 4-0 as well. This is a worry. Rod Ross, one of our regulars. Hi, Rod. He's saying 2-0 to Tottenham. I'm just seeing if there's any other predictions. Just waiting for a few more comments to come through.
Out there for 7.
Any others? Peter Duggan, of course. 7-0. Spurs.
Okay, the only question, because I think we know we're going to struggle defensively. Do we think Heung-min Son is going to be the main impact player for them against us? Do you think it's Pedro Porro on that wide kind of like overload on our left-hand side? Or do you think it's James Maddison causing trouble? Because Solanke hasn't broken us down before. He's a great player, but he does play a little bit deeper and find those pockets compared to some of the other pacey strikers. We think he'll score. He hasn't that often against us. Who do you think, if there's one player that's going to break us down, who do you think it is?
It's really worrying. If you sit deep, Maddison's going to be looking to get in the space in front of your defense and between the lines to kind of pick the pass through to Son, making runs in behind, and also Solanke. So that's a worry. And if we go high line, then you'd have to say it's still Son and Solanke, but with the ball going in behind. That's the combination we've got to stop. I don't know whether we can do it. Colton, have you got anything to add on that?
Yeah. And Peter's point about Kulusevski is also very impactful, because he's
stop naming
quite a
players,
cover player that backs off. That if we play narrow, he's going to back off, get width, and kind of come from behind it and try and do very.
This is what you need to do.
He's going to do similar to what Minter did, where he kind of was able to find a bit of space and cross into that zone of uncertainty, as they call it, between the.
Yeah, I think Son's going to have to play on the left-hand side, sadly. So I think that's going to be the problem. I can see a Solanke brace. I don't think it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not too worried about the team overall. I think they're fine. It's just all the injuries are adding up, and it's the start of the season. So hopefully the injury bug is kind of like it. We start hopefully getting some people back and maybe bringing in another signing or two, and I think we're gonna be fine. Like, I don't want to be all negative. I don't want to come on my first time on the show, first time like on an Everton show, and I'm like, holy, I get to finally talk Everton because no one wants to hear Everton around these parts. It's always City, United, all these top clubs, Chelsea. So I get to actually talk about my team, which is exciting. I don't want to come on being all negative. I don't think it's going to be such a bad season. I think it's just an unfortunate start to the season with injuries. I think you have one of your best guy that you had to keep over the summer in Branthwaite, and he's out the start of the season. So your center back duo is not the same. So your partnership isn't the same back there. So I don't want to be all negative. It's just bad timing, and Mason Holgate's playing this weekend. So that's a problem.
We've gone a whole season with no injuries, and then all of a sudden we don't have any players fit. I do need to wrap things up here because we've been on for an hour. I hope that's okay. And just wrap things up with these final comments. The defense is the big worry. That's from Kazuri. And also Wormy Spoons, one of our subscribers, saying Holgate's getting a new one ripped at right back. The Blues says Odebert makes his debut and scores. Solanke gets his first goal for Spurs, breaks his duck. And Peter says Holgate will get sent off in less than 10 minutes. I mean, I can see that. I can see him getting sent off. I can see Holgate getting sent off, losing his head. His head's not at Everton. And Lee Richards, welcome, Lee. I don't know if you subscribe, but nice cat. And please hit the subscribe button for us and everyone else. If you're new here, please subscribe. Everton have got shocking record against Tottenham in the Premier League. Only one win in the last 23 league games against Spurs and 9 since the Premier League started. That is poor. Colton, thank you so much for joining. And Aussie Chris, thank you so much for jumping on as well. Guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.